So in this tutorial, I'm just going to kind of cover how I would draw. If you want to draw in a more traditional way, like you're drawing like on paper, as opposed to doing the shapes like we did last time. So what you're going to do first thing is you should probably draw something on a piece of paper beforehand, just so you can see what you want to draw. And you can scan that in and put underneath, kind of like what we did last time. But instead what I'm going to do is this. So I have a layer 1, right? And I'll just rename this. We'll just call it sketch. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw what I want on this in a real rough kind of way. And to do that, I'm actually going to use the pencil. Now, if you remember the pencil tool, there's no variation. It's just one solid line. But that way, it will be a little bit easier to work with. So let's see. Let's do, gosh, we'll do ink, I guess. That's terrible. Smooth. Oops. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay. And then I'm just going to change the size so it's a little bit smaller by using the bracket keys to the left of the P key. So the two brackets, if you go to the right, it'll make it big. And if I do the one closest to the P, it'll make it thin. So I'm just going to draw my like cone character guy. I don't know, but just because. So I'm just going to kind of draw like the under drawing of what he would look like so. Okay. And we're just going to go like this. And I'll just kind of go like that so it's a little bit bigger. Maybe erase this out a little bit like that. Alright. And let's see, go like that. So I'm just using the pencil tool and I'm just drawing. Now, obviously, if you have a tablet or something, that will be better, like this. But right now, I'm not overly concerned with you know, it being clean or whatever. I'm just literally trying to just draw it out. Okay, so that looks bad, but you get the idea. All right, voila. Now, I'm not going to actually use this. I'm just going to use this as a layer underneath another layer that I'll use to draw over top of it. So I'll just make another layer by clicking on this. All right, and we'll call this, come on. Delete final. Okay. And I'm going to lock the layer underneath, and then I'm going to do this. And that just turns it to this kind of shaded thing. Well, I'll show you actually. So let's say we turn this back on. Basically, the idea is that if I have, let's say, a shape here, right? Let's do a shape with no lines in it. So I have a shape. Whoops, got to put it on this layer. If I have a shape that I draw, boom, boom. I don't really understand what's going on there. Come on. Really taking its sweet time. Alright, come on. Computer's acting slow. There we go. If I put this on this, you can see it'll do the outline of whatever's there, but we don't really want that anyway. At least not in this case. But I think it makes this a little bit easier to see if I do that. Alright, so I got that like that, and that's fine. Now, if I want to change the color, like I don't like the red, if you double click on it here, come on, it'll pop open with the layer properties. I think you might be able to right click too. Right click with layer properties. You can see visibility. We can turn it on. We can make it transparent. I can also change the outline color. So maybe I'll use something like I'll click on this to get a different color. Just gonna do something that's a little bit less hard to see, and we'll hit OK. And I'll do that. And now you can see it's a little bit easier to be in the background. Okay. Now I'm going to go back. And this time I'm not going to use the pencil tool because the pencil tool has no thickness or anything. It doesn't look particularly great. So what I'm going to do is we have two options here. We have the regular brush tool, and like that one's cool and everything. But what it does is it actually makes a fill. And let's change this fill color here too. And let's also, I don't want drawing mode. Let's do fill, brush mode. We'll leave that there. I do want to use pressure, and then I can't see the bottom one here. Yeah, I'm not going to use tilt. But it'll allow me to do thin and thick lines. But what you'll notice is, I'm just doing Control plus minus or Command plus minus. When I go to the regular select tool, you'll see it's actually a shape. So it makes it kind of difficult to work with. But it gives you a nice line. But they added another tool, Control minus. delete that. This one here, where it kind of is halfway between the pencil tool, because you'll notice when I draw with the pencil tool, and if I use the regular select tool, I just hit V to do that, you can see it goes like this. It's a stroke. But with this tool, this brush tool, which I think is Y, right? Yeah, the paintbrush tool. You'll see that, let me put pressure on again. Come on. You'll see that I can get the thin and thickness. Oh, that's not doing it very. Let me make it bigger so you can see it better. See, I can get thin and thick, but it's adjusting the stroke. So now when I bend the lines, so you get kind of halfway between the two. So this one is the one that I would generally suggest as far as like drawing your lines. I think it just gives you better quality. Anyway, so I'm going to choose this. I'm going to zoom in, Control plus. All right, that's probably good enough. And then I'm just going to use my underdrawing, which I did a terrible job of, and use that as the lines here. So, but I'm going to really try and pay attention to. I'm going to use my bracket keys here. Okay, bracket, and that's a little better. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and draw that line, and then go wonk. And my brush is like sticking for some reason. Stop. There it goes. I think my computer's just being really slow for some reason. Come on. Undo. Edit, undo. Edit, undo. There it goes. Okay. I don't understand what's going on here. I might have to restart my computer. Yeah, so same thing here. I'll just kind of draw a line, and then, oops, I went too far. Right there, like that, and then I'll draw a line like that. And I got this extra little knuck here, so I'm just going to click on it with the select tool. Let's get rid of these extra little pieces here because it is weird. Something's going on with my pen here. I think it's dusty on the inside. Anyway, so I'll do that. I'll go back to this tool, and then we can kind of draw this across and this across. Draw the little eyes. Oops. There we go. Draw a little eye, Come on. Alright, so let's see if okay. So I'll draw the eyes here. I think the problem with the pen actually is when I'm doing the recording, it's messing it up. So anyway, I'm going to go like this for a mouth. Right, and then we'll just draw some hands. I'm obviously doing kind of a sloppy job, but I think you get the idea. Right, and then I got this and that, like so. And then I got the feet. Okay. Alright. So we'll say I did a good job. Imagine it looks good, even though it doesn't. Alright. So now what I want to do is, that's more or less kind of pretty close to what I wanted. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and color this in. So to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and use the brush here, or the paint bucket. Now, I'll go here and I'll try to choose a color. I'm just going to go over here and do a little orange, a little more orange than that, I guess. We'll say that color. Okay. Now I'll try to paint it in, but you'll see it didn't work. Now, the reason why it didn't work is if I hold Control and use the scroll key, I'm going to go over here. If I grab this, see there's a gap here, right? So this overlaps. That made a point. So if you draw your lines across and over, it will automatically make a line. So I'll just show you real quick. Like, let's say I go like this. You'll see that now when I go over here, it automatically created a line, which is great. But that didn't happen here because I just did a bad job drawing. So you might be like, oh, one thing you could do is I could go to my direct select tool here, and I could actually like drag this over, force it to overlap, and that would work. Another thing you can do, which is a little bit easier, because you might like a little bit of a gap or not want to have to deal with that, is that when you use your paint bucket tool here, if you go down here, you'll see right now it says don't close small gaps, close medium gaps, blah, blah, blah. It does exactly what it suggests. So if I click on this, when I go to paint on it, it will fill it in. Now, there is a problem with this because, let me see if I can find an area that might cause more of an issue. I'll just use this part here. Let's say you might pick one, I just always use large gaps. Watch this. It worked perfectly. Okay, well that didn't. We'll leave them in large gaps and see if it messes up, because hopefully I can show you. So I'll click on there, Control minus. Okay, and we'll click on there. Okay, right there. What it'll do is it'll look for large gaps and actually close those. So generally speaking, it's a good idea to either use medium or to use small gaps, unless it doesn't work. But then even then, if it doesn't work, you want to just move it up over here, change your gaps, make them larger and larger. So, and this color's kind of ugly, but we're just going to go with it because I don't feel like spending a million hours on it. So we'll go right here and click on there. This is supposed to be white. So I'm going to do off-white because I don't like things to be perfectly white. Go like that, and we'll paint in there. Voila. Okay. Now, another thing that might happen that is also useful is that if you look here where my eyes are, you can see it's clear behind it because basically it didn't fill in there. Now, I could try to manually click in there, and that's all cool and dandy, but it might have a little difficulty doing that. So what I can do instead is use the regular brush here, because if you remember, this is the same thing as painting a fill. I could literally do something, well, I'll show you. So I can paint with this, and that's the same thing as, I'm going to hit I to sample this color. So hit I, boom, eyedropper, which is right, where are you at? Right here. But it's the same thing as, painting a fill. So if I go like this, you'll see it's basically the same thing as, it's just a shape, okay? But if I try to do that in here, you can see I'm painting right over, well, actually it did work in this case. And that kind of worked. But there's another mode here that if you go down here, you'll see that it says, because I already have it on. If I do paint normal, which is probably what you have, it'll paint over top of it because it's just going to paint, you know what I mean, like you would expect it to. It's going to paint over top of the object. But if I go over here, you can see I can do paint fills, paint behind, paint inside. And these will do what they suggest that they will do. So paint behind is probably the most useful. So you go paint behind, and I can go like this, and it will paint behind it. So to give another example is watch this. Let's say I just do a weird color like this. If I go like this, I didn't really do at all what I was expecting it to do. Oh, there it goes. Okay. You see it's painting behind the objects. So you can even do like a kind of a neat look where, like, let's say I took the fill out of this and I wanted to make it look like more sketchy. I could use that and then just make this like really big. Come on, brackets. This thing is so slow. And go like this to paint inside of it, like just real kind of manually. And then you can I could leave it like that, you know what I mean? Or even just do something that afterwards I just select these chunks and delete them out. And kind of leave it kind of sketchy. I mean, you could play around with it. Let's undo all that. But the paint behind is actually very useful for that. There we go. Oh, one more. There. Now, you might also want to, because it's very common, to paint the lines, right? That is this tool right here. So this will ink bottle tool. Basically, what it'll do is it'll paint strokes. So I can take this, and let's say I want to make it green or something. I can click on it. It'll do an overlap section, and you can see it will paint just the stroke. If I click in here, it'll paint everything that's attached to it. If I paint inside the fill, okay. This obviously looks kind of creepy and terrible, but that's what that does. So if for some reason you want to paint something, change the line color, you can do it quickly that way as well. I think that should get you most of the way. And then you would just take the one here that you have underneath, and I would just delete that layer. Right click, delete layers, and that layer's gone. Some other things you could do if you want to make it look kind of neat, like if you wanted to shade it, you could take like this line tool here and just do a color that is just an off color. It doesn't really matter. But let's say I wanted to, no, I gotta unlock it. I could, actually, I don't even need to do the line tool. Let's just do the pencil tool, because that way I can control it. I could go like this, right? Whoop, like that. That's all the way through. Go to my paint bucket tool. I'm going to hit I to sample this color. and then click on this, and then go to this, and I'm just going to drag it down so it's just darker color. And I can just paint in this section, right, like so. Yay! And then all I got to do is I'm going to switch back to the select tool, click on this, delete, delete, delete. Actually, let's do it this way. I'm just going to double click on it. Double click on that line, it'll select the whole line, hit delete, that line's gone. And then you can see I got that shading that I drew, which is also kind of neat and pretty easy if you want to add a little bit of pizzazz to it. Alright? But that's how you would if you're trying to just draw like a traditional crappy this thing drawing. That's a way to do it. Okay, so mostly you're just going to use these three here and basically these two here with some of the settings down here to kind of help. Alright, good luck.